what it's meant to do. These kinds of pressure points, blaming the greater society for their leader. If you don't like it, get them out of there. Boot them out of there. Okay, that's what tariffs on Russia are designed to do. Make it really hard. The people will stand up and say, you know what? I understand he's a murderous dictator, but we got to do whatever we can to get rid of him because we're being punished too much. So yeah, he leaves, we get rid of him, and everything's fine. Okay, we can go back to visiting them. You bump into somebody on the street there, and they tell you they're sorry. That's how relatively decent it is when you go someplace else. Okay, they can come here. It's going to be great, but we have to do some heavy lifting first.
Yeah, and my final point, this is a question I'm just gonna leave, I'm not gonna answer, I'm just gonna ask MAGA. Like, you guys seem to like the idea of people around the world liking America. Like when Trump says, we're a laughing stock, they're laughing at us. But like when I show you the polls, and we can do this for Canada, we can do this for Europe, we can do this for all these different places. They like us better when you guys aren't in charge. Why do you think that is? Like, again, regular Canadian people, we're not talking about Trudeau or whatever. Regular Canadian people are like, yes, America, sometimes. And sometimes they don't like America. And there is a pattern there. Why do you refuse to see it? Anyway, just some homework for you. Think about it. That is unfortunately all the time we have for the show today. Sharon, as always, it is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you, and good luck with the online shopping. I hope that you catch some good deals.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to it. I mean, this is phenomenal stuff. I think there's a box you could check too, that it doesn't come in so many boxes destroying the environment. So I'll try to figure that out. But this is, I'm telling you, you gotta check it out. You have to.
It's nice to have something positive going on with all the darkness. Right. But anyway, thank you everybody out there. Tomorrow, I am almost certain this week is a John solo show. So please don't let it be solo. Join me tomorrow on the Damage Report, and I'll appreciate you being there. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have Rashad Richey. Just me solo today, me and you. Always good to be here. Top story of the day, Donald Trump. Well, he talks about he has nothing to do with the prosecution of Comey, then brags about prosecuting Comey. Here it is.
And dishonest guy. So all I have to do is, I have nothing to do with the case. I just say,
but you called him Bondi to prosecute him and oppose him.
No, I don't call anybody. You know what? I'm allowed to do that if I wanted to do that. But Comey's a crooked guy. He has been for years.
Put it up full mask. The story has some twists and turns. I do find it ironic that so many people are talking about the corruption of the Department of Justice when Black folk have been talking about the corruption of the Department of Justice since 1961. Let's get into it. Trump denies his role in James Comey, former FBI director, and his prosecution, denies it is a witch hunt, despite his post. However, less than a week after Trump's post, on September 20th on Truth Social, James Comey was then indicted on September 25th on 2 counts, making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Trump's September 20th post addressed directly to Bondi named Comey, Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat, California, and New York Attorney General Letitia James, quote, "We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now." And a few days later, Trump later celebrated Comey's indictment, posting, quote, "Justice in America. One of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey," end quote. Comey's indictment stemmed from his testimony on September 30th, 2020. This was during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. A question posed by Senator Ted Cruz, Republican out of Texas, about earlier testimony in which he denied authorizing leaks to the media about an FBI probe. Comey responded, "I stand by the testimony." Now, here's the technical part and then the irony of it. So the technical part is, as one wise person once said, you show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Basically, we have laws and statutes and ordinances written in such a way that it will be very difficult to live in the United States of America without technically violating them. Did Comey provide a nod to a false answer in a previous testimony to the United States Congress? Maybe. Are people prosecuted for it? Typically not, but to be honest, political dynamics have played into prosecutions like this before when individuals have lied to Congress. Some have been jailed for it, others have been fined, and then some have decided not to even respond to a subpoena, which is legally enforceable by arrest, and absolutely nothing happened to them. So discretion is definitely at play. Politics becomes the catalyst. But the irony of it is this. I don't remember a year in the existence of the Department of Justice where they have been corrupt-free. They have always had elements of corruption, and at times the leader has been on record. The leader has been on record for being corrupt. And yet and still, these agencies, these federal police agencies, are routinely celebrated based on administration. So if a Democrat is in office, it's celebrated by Democrats, and it's a better Department of Justice. If a Republican is in office, conservatives say the same thing. The truth is, none of them have clean hands in this way. I'm talking agency-wide. All of these agencies have their levels of corruption that have been dealt with on record. It continues. The indictment, however, is interesting, all right? So the indictment does not specify what the investigation was about. This is the indictment, but news reports speculate that the investigation was related to Hillary Clinton. The statute of limitations on the charges was set to expire the week of the indictment, alluding to the political nature of the indictment. If convicted, Comey faces up to 5 years in prison. Comey denied the charges in a video posted on social media. All right, let's put her up. So, the Comey indictment was brought by Lindsay Halligan, a former private attorney for who? Donald J. Trump. It is his private attorney working as an interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, taking over one of the most significant prosecutorial offices in the country despite having no experience as a prosecutor at any level, at any time of her legal profession. During Halligan's college years, she competed, in the Miss Colorado USA pageant twice. Now, that doesn't take away from her credentialing. It simply doesn't add to it to be a prosecutor. So she has no prosecutorial experience. She's friends with Donald Trump, or at least a close ally, somebody that Donald Trump has considered his attorney. And, well, she lacks supervision, ability, or capacity based on credentialing and experience. But she can be a patsy. She can be a crony, a surrogate, an expression of, well, you know. So yes, politics are definitely at play. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Why is this so important to Trump? Well, he's petty. He's petty. So while some may gloat about this who are MAGA supporters, I want you to think about it. You know why he hasn't been able to deliver on the promises he told you he would deliver? Do you know why your grocery bill is higher? You know why gas prices won't come down under him? Healthcare will continue to rise. Unemployment rate skyrocketing. Affordable education opportunities have been snatched away. Why? Because he's not solving those problems. He's solving his problems, not yours. He ran to solve his own problems, not to resolve yours. That is what you're seeing in this prosecution and in prosecutions that may come. So her decision to pursue the case against Comey, reportedly met resistance from within her own office. You don't say. You mean to tell me that the rookie, never have prosecuted a case in her life, new manager of the department here got pushback about a political prosecution, high-profile political prosecution of the former FBI director? You don't say it got some pushback from lifers at the DOJ. So during the court proceedings, confusion arose over multiple charging documents. Judge Lindsay Vela questioned why there were two versions of the same indictment. She's about to lose the case before being presented, okay? Why are there two versions of the indictment? Quote, it has your signature on it, she told Halligan, who replied, I do not see. End quote. Vala ordered her to make handwritten corrections and submit both versions to the docket. Unusually, Halligan's name was the only one on the indictment. No assistant U.S. attorneys were listed. You always have assistant U.S. attorneys. So here's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. She's not receiving any assistance from the people that actually know how to file high-profile federal case, how to do an indictment properly, et cetera, et cetera. So she's winging it, probably using ChatGPT or something in order to do it. So she's making mistakes, and the judge is calling these mistakes out. And these mistakes are probably going to land in a technical dismissal of the case. All right, there you have it. We will bring you updates as it continues to develop. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you. Be well. Happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We have some comments. I will read as many as I can. Very thankful for them. Salivy_Dragon Doc, narcissist gone to narcissist. Trump and a lot of politicians are only out for themselves. That is correct. Look at how now MTG is all about the ACA because now it's hitting her kids' pockets. Sometimes it takes a personal experience, doesn't it? Embedded Dude, the Justice Department should be completely independent, that's correct, and immune from the executive and legislative branches of government and should be elected directly by the people. The existing DOJ should be eliminated. You make a very fair point, and the irony has always been there. Number one, they are charged with investigating anybody, including the president, including members of Congress. But who sets their budget? Well, Congress. Who signs it into executive law? The president. All right, Trump versus Comey. This is Nick, the Silver Flame Dragon, member for 7 months. Thank you for that. The irony of the whole Comey thing, if it weren't for Comey, we would likely never have to deal with a Trump presidency to begin with. But her emails, you are so right. If he would have just stuck to the basic, traditional, well, we don't get involved this close to an election rhetoric, but they did. So. Interesting potential reality. All right. Okay, here we go. Donald Trump has called for the arrest of a governor and a mayor. Here it is.
This morning, the build-up. National Guard troops from Texas now on the ground just outside Chicago. Part of a mobilization ordered by President Trump, the state's governor has denounced as an unconstitutional invasion.
If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job.
Chicago's Democratic Mayor Brandon Johnson condemned what he called the president's war on his city.
This is about authoritarianism. It's about stoking fear.
With the courts so far blocking the president's efforts to deploy troops to Democratic-led cities, President Trump is now threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act to send those troops in to crack down on unrest without states' approval.
And moments ago, President Trump weighed in again and is trying to ratchet things up rather than calm things down. Again, sending out this message, we'll show you. Chicago's mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also.
Here we go. Republicans used to tell us they believed in less government intrusion from the federal government. Local government should have their capacity, their self-determination intact, their will to govern themselves not hindered. Donald Trump has violated virtually all of the go-to Republican talking points. Your talking points about morality and ethics, that's out the door. Your talking points about traditional family, completely gone, this guy. Why? Because presidents are typically considered the standard bearer of the political party they represent. But because Trump cannot bear the standard has no effect, nor is it even pronounced during campaigns by Republicans. So they continue to go to talking points that are lies and about other people. So Donald Trump has now decided to engage in the thing we said he wanted to do on day one. And to the Democratic politicians, stop using the word authoritarianism. Okay, it's too diplomatic for what's really happening. This is criminal. This is a crime. If something is unconstitutional, that means it's against the law. That means it is a violation of legal standard. So let's stop using this damn SAT word and get into the root of what this man is doing. He's literally transforming our system of government by illegal means. See, you can say it. Put it up full mask. President Donald Trump has called for the imprisonment of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. As the pair, they fight ICE federal agents and the National Guard from another state deployed basically in Chicago. On Wednesday, Trump said Chicago mayor should be jailed for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also, keep their pictures up. First of all, the Supreme Court ruled that police officers who are sworn to protect and serve the citizens, they do not have a duty to actually protect and serve, meaning if they fail to protect and serve, they cannot be arrested for failing to protect and serve you. That's a Supreme Court ruling. It's considered case law. However, Donald Trump wants your elected representatives jailed for not protecting armed cops. They're the police. Why does a politician have to protect the police? And the legal scrutiny of their arrival, notwithstanding, they shouldn't even be there. But Trump wants you to know that he cares about these ICE agents so much that he's calling for the arrest of elected representatives who don't protect them during his illegal orders inside of your state. Put them back up. I talked about this prior. When the mayor of Chicago last week sent out an executive action from the mayor's desk that created a no ICE zone, I explained to the indisputable audience that it has no effect because it's not a local statute. It is not signed by members of council. It did not pass as a statute, because if it passes as a law, as a statute, that means they have to enforce it. The governor, as he waxed poetic about ICE doing what ICE was doing, I reminded the governor he has the authority in this state for state troopers to arrest federal agents. That is simply case law once again. And if you want to verify, you can look at Red Dog Police in Atlanta arresting federal agents. Georgia state troopers have done so as well. Pritzker would respond by posting, quote, "I would not back down. Trump is now calling for the arrest of elected representatives, checking his power. What else is left on the path of full-blown authoritarianism?" Please stop using the damn word. Sir, a man in actual power as president of the United States of America has called for your arrest for doing your job. These sanitized words and these measured responses from Democratic elected officials, even when they are on the line. This man is threatening to take you away from your family, from your children, from your friends, from your neighbors. Johnson would also respond, quote, "This is not the first time Trump has tried to have a black man unjustly arrested. I'm not going anywhere." And that's a great point, Mr. Mayor. You have a police force under you, one of the largest police forces in the United States of America, the Chicago PD. They also, based on precedent of the United States Supreme Court, they can, in fact, arrest anyone who is unlawfully within that jurisdiction performing something that is statutorily illegal. Trump's post came 2 days after both Chicago and Illinois sued the White House in a bid to block the deployment of federal troops. The complaint was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois against Trump and several other federal agencies and officials, including the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem, the Department of Defense, and the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Despite the lawsuit, National Guard troops from Texas have started to lay down roots at an Army Reserve Center in Illinois early Wednesday, the Associated Press reported. Their exact mission is unclear, though the Trump administration has an aggressive immigration enforcement operation in the nation's third largest city, and protesters have frequently rallied at an immigration building outside of Chicago in Broadview. So Trump has threatened to invoke something called the Insurrection Act. We're going to talk about that, federal law dating back to 1807. That should give you an idea of how antiquated this law is. If courts or state officials delay his plans to deploy soldiers to U.S. cities in support of his anti-immigration crackdown, the Insurrection Act is a federal law that gives the U.S. president the power to deploy the military or to federalize the National Guard anywhere in the U.S. to restore order during an insurrection. The National Guard is technically a branch of the U.S. military that helps with both state and federal tasks. States mostly use their National Guard for emergencies, but the president can also send Guard troops on missions abroad. It is typically the governor of a state who can deploy National Guard troops in the respective state. The Insurrection Act was signed into law in 1807 by then President Thomas Jefferson. However, it can be traced back to the Militia Acts in 1792. Two of these acts, which defined the president's power to call militias into federal service during emergencies. Okay? The Insurrection Act works in tandem with the Posse Comitatus Act in 1878, which prevents the president from invoking the National Guard. The president can then circumvent this act by invoking the Insurrection Act in the event of an insurrection. Constitutional lawyer Bruce Fain told Al Jazeera that presidential power was under the act only applying cases of major rebellion equivalent to the U.S. Civil War, where normal law enforcement and courts can't function. Sir, I appreciate your legal scholarship, but that's not true. The reason it's not true is because we've allowed it to be so damn subjective rather than defined. However, the law scholar added that it is unclear whether a president's declaration of insurrection can even be challenged in court. Quote, Congress, however, could impeach and remove Trump for misuse of the act in Portland. Fain said, adding that military law obligates personnel to disobey orders that are clearly unlawful. He said Trump's use of the act in Portland will be clearly illegal, even if it cannot be challenged in court. Sir, once again, all due respect to your legal scholarship, it is clearly illegal to violate the rights of citizens. It is clearly illegal to arrest a federal judge while on the bench for informing someone of their constitutional rights. It is clearly illegal to go inside of churches and school zones and arrest children. It is clearly illegal. But happening. The first time Trump deployed the National Guard was in June. When he deployed 2,000 National Guard troops in Los Angeles and California, this was in response to protests in California against ICE arresting people for violating immigration laws in the city. California Governor Gavin Newsom did not agree with Trump's National Guard deployment in his state back then. Hence, instead of the Insurrection Act, which would have required Newsom's approval, Trump invoked a similar federal law called the Title 10 authority to deploy the California National Guard without Newsom's approval. In August, he deployed 800 Guard members to Washington, D.C., citing a crime emergency and saying violent crime was out of control. On Saturday, Trump authorized the deployment of 300 National Guard troops to Chicago, where citizens are protesting against an ICE immigration crackdown. On Monday, Illinois leaders moved to take legal action against Trump over the deployment. The state and the city filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court, Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division. Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker, Illinois, said a court hearing is scheduled for Thursday. Right now, you have some fighters on the field, okay? You may not like the way they fight, but it's unorthodox because it's required, and I can appreciate the fight even if I have not always agreed with their policies. I appreciate Governor Newsom. I appreciate Prince Johnson and others who are willing to stand up to this level of insanity. But it also takes us supporting them as they stand up. It takes us being willing to support the representatives who support our continued advocacy for self-determination and government. And finally, Mayor Johnson had these words to say about Trump's effort.
First of all, this president is unstable, unhinged, a double-minded individual that quite frankly is a threat to our democracy. If he was serious about safety, he would not have defunded a program of $800 million that was geared towards violence prevention. He cut the ATF budget by 30%. He has defunded our education system. He has defunded our transportation system. He is firing Black women across this country. He's defunding our healthcare system. This president is absolutely out of control, and it's incumbent upon all of us. If there was ever a time for working people to unite in this country, now is that time. And the city of Chicago is going to stand firm in protecting humanity and protecting and defending our democracy.
There you go. All right. Now, I could appreciate those words as well. And the people are always connected to the representative. Remember that. All right. So we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick a stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only Black salesperson there. He's the only Black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token Black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We have a lot to cover. I will read as many comments as I can. I appreciate everyone. Embedded Dude says, don't call ICE police. They don't deserve it. They are thugs. And Green New Dealer Dragon says, only legitimate defense is Second Amendment, well-regulated militias. And Bubba Franks, the Sword Dragon, it went beyond being authoritarian a long time ago. The current debate is if only fascism still. Is it fascism still? That's correct, yes. And I agree, Neon Death 07, dear Dems, find your damn spines. Yeah, and people who are not Dems, should be in lock and step with this level of tyranny from a tyrant. So Skittle Butt _Dragon _Rasper. Trump declared war on U.S. cities. That's treason. He had in doing it. All right. What if I told you an HOA basically harassed a Black family because a kid touched a tree? Here's the video.
My name is Ariel. I busted my ass for the last 5 years to buy a home for my children as a single mother of 5. And there is a woman who is filing a complaint on my 5-year-old, who's also the same woman who sits at the head of the HOA, who does not like my 5-year-old touching a tree. She decided to take legal action. And my HOA, as of today, is seeking to start legal action against my 5-year-old for touching a tree and touching a rock. They listed him under Article 7, Section 8 of the HOA and listed him to the neighborhood as a public annoyance and public nuisance to the neighborhood. List him as a public annoyance and nuisance when in Article 7 is usually reserved for loud parties, out of control noise complaints, or excessive parking. Not a human, not a child, for touching a tree. The head of my HOA is the only lady who is seeking this complaint. She is the only person who is recording my child every day at his public bus stop. There is no damage to the tree, nor is he on video or record throwing a rock. She does have video of him touching the branches of the tree. He wakes up every morning at 7:30 a.m. with no children, records my child at a public bus stop for Orange County Public Schools from inside her home window. The legal, suit she's trying to start, a photo of my son in the tree, a photo of my family, and then a photo of everyone else's garbage cans that don't seem to get fines or regulations besides mine in the comparison. This is not to get my neighbors in trouble. This is to just make everyone aware what our HOA money is being spent and used for. On Sunday, I walked my 5-year-old son to 63 houses. We walked with flowers to 63 houses in my neighborhood to show them the lawsuit that our HOA money is being used to pursue on a 5-year-old, and to ask them, A, is my son Owen a public nuisance? B, no, Owen is not a public nuisance. Or C, I do not know who Owen is. So I felt like if the neighborhood was going to list my child as a public nuisance or public annoyance to the area, I might as well ask them as the mother, what did my son do?
Very well done. I've been following this story. I saw this online a few days ago, and at that time, I contacted my production team, and we have reached out to this mother. And so if the mother receives this, please check your inbox on social media. I'm sure that you've received a lot of messages, but check the one from Indisputable. We would love to continue to advocate for your cause and your child. Put up the picture full mass. I'm going to give you the background to this. According to Atlanta Black Star, who did great reporting on this, by the way, Ariel Barner. Ms. Barner, a Florida mother, says she's being subjected to a prejudicial and discriminatory HOA notice that resulted in fines after a neighbor filed a complaint about her son playing on a community magnolia tree. Ms. Barner, a single, hard-working mother of 5 children, said she bought her first home in Orange County. Now she's fighting a legal notice from her HOA accusing her 5-year-old child, Owen, of violating community rules by swinging from a tree on public property at his bus stop. Now, we all know children, because, we've all been a child. We, in our childlike state, will play on welcoming trees, even if somebody says, hey, get down from there, whatever it may be, okay? It's a rite of passage, basically. The legal notice alleges that Owen, in fact, violated a regulation stating that, quote, no noxious or offensive activity shall be conducted or permitted to exist upon any lot or any dwelling unit, nor shall anything be done or permitted to exist on any lot or in any dwelling unit that may be or may become an annoyance or private or public nuisance, thus the HOA justified. You can't write dumb-ish. So in an enforceable contract, that's what the HOA is giving you, a contract, right? In a contract, the terms must be enforceable. There are multiple grounds of unenforceability here with the contract, but that's my opinion. Now, I'm going to give you my informed opinion as to why in just a moment. So the HOA justified the grounds for the notice by writing that the association members will not be liable for any injuries that the children or a child might suffer from swinging from tree branches, which is typically a given in the liability clause of an HOA contract or HOA agreement. Also, quote, they listed under Article 7, Section 8, that the HOA and listed him to the neighbor as a public annoyance and a public nuisance to the neighborhood. Barner said in the video post on Instagram, quote, so maybe call me ignorant, or maybe call me naive, but I have never experienced such hatred and isolation over a child in a community. Okay? And dear sister, I hope you do know that it is not about the child, obviously, and it is not about the tree. It is much deeper than that. And keep in mind, the individual making the personal complaint happens to be president of the HOA. And that may have something to do with why something that would seemingly be so small has now become a national story. But if that's the kind of action that the HOA wants to provide, we will provide it. Now the HOA is requiring Barner to resolve the violation and pay $382.16 to cover the fees the association incurred to hire an attorney to address the complaint. Barner says she believes this matter is directly tied to prejudice, abuse of power, and discrimination under or after her white neighbor, who happens to be the head of the HOA, filed a complaint that resulted in the legal notice. She said the neighbor would repeatedly record her son playing in the magnolia tree at his bus stop. The tree suffered no damage. In the days since she received the notice, Barner has started fighting back. Her story went viral after she took to social media to share the ordeal. She also printed letters for 50 of her neighbors describing the situation she and her family are being subjected to and accusing the HOA of abusing the bylaws. She posted dozens of supportive responses from community members siding with her and her son. Barner told WOFL that she intends to speak with an attorney to explore how to move forward with the HOA's demands. Quote, and I may lose, but I'm going to go down fighting, and I have no problem paying my fines and still using my voice to say this is 100% unconstitutional and not right, she said. Okay. Let's put up the mother again. So to the mother and to your beautiful child, I know you got beautiful kids, your beautiful family. Anytime there's a lawsuit filed against you, you have the right to respond. If they would like to get you under deposition, you have the right to put them under deposition as well. It's called sworn testimony. They would have to swear to statements of fact. And in that swearing of statement of facts, an attorney or you get to ask or pose some questions that may be quite embarrassing for them to have to answer on record. It's just a point of remedy for some. Also, I would highly recommend that based on the bylaws of the HOA, those neighbors that were sympathetic to you, those neighbors you gave flowers to and they got to meet your beautiful face and understand the context of your beautiful children. You see, those neighbors are part of the board of directors. They just typically don't show up to the meetings. And because of that, a small group of individuals who usually have too much time on their hands are the ones who become the de facto governing board. Here's what I recommend. Just a recommendation. If I were you, I would take those neighbors, go to the next HOA meeting, have them qualify as members, active members, voting members, and vote out that current leadership and make you the HOA president. All right? Just a recommendation. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I got something for you. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
We send it.
Oh, yeah, it could be denied.
But if it gets denied,
I can't do it again.
We'll eat it.
I can't do it again because you've already submitted it once.
I got you. So you're saying that she has to take her hijab off?
Yes. Yes, we were told. I've been through several training. I've been doing this for 12 years, and they told us that make sure that
as a Muslim, that's what you're saying.
Everything has to come off the head.
Okay, I'm gonna find out.
And see if I can find it for you.
I'm almost certain that it's not accurate. My entire family's Muslim. My mom, my sister, they're pre-checked. They're licensed to carry all that. It's literally illegal to tell somebody of their faith to take their covering off their head. And it got nothing to do with you, but I just want to make sure, because I'm going to push this up the wall, up the limit. And if you're saying that that's what you got to do, so be it. But if that's not the case, then somebody is going to get in trouble. That is very distasteful. I personally know for a fact that I've never even heard of that.
Pre-checks?
My Khadija is.
Oh.
Yasmin, Nasima, they fly all over the country.
Yeah. Interesting, right? Put it up full mass. I will explain the rules here and the Karen. So the Karen in this situation tells the Muslim woman to remove her hijab for a pre-check photo. Now, that's not typically the way it's done. It's against the religious custom, obviously, and hasn't been an issue prior. Now, this is all noted. The U.S. Department of State has explicit rules banning most head coverings, in passport photos, such as caps, headphones, and headbands, okay? However, the American passport authorities, allow religious head coverings to be worn, provided they leave the facial features visible with no shadows. All right, here's an example. You see the example here again. There you go. Check. And here's the person providing an example of what not to do. Not checked. Get it together. All right. A lot going on in airports. Okay. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like tyt.com/join, and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitsing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny Pie. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki cat.
Animals are innocent. Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Jank. Man, you're a young tourist viewer if you recognize me like this.
Such a big head. Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, aka Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
And this is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. We'll read as many as I can. Next, TYT reporter says, I think an HOA is far more a nuisance than a child. Yeah. KZK 8 Dragon says, sue the HOA for stalking your son. Yeah. Friendly Mail says, the HOA lady looks like she don't wash her legs in the shower. That's I just say that. That is a unique one. Love Big 41. No matter how hard we work, these idiots out in our business. Yeah, these idiots in our business, correct. And Neon Death 07, F and HOAs like the high school bullies. Yeah. Yeah, we'll bring updates on it. All right, government shutdown continues to loom. Now, airports. Well, not safe. Delays are happening according to the update. Here it is.
The safety of more than 2 million air travelers a day in the U.S. depends on the TSA. And that's no different, of course, during the government shutdown. Right now, TSA agents are screening passengers and their luggage like they would any other day, except they're doing it without getting paid.
So it's not fair that TSA officers are put in this situation, which seems like every couple months now because of the budget. TSA officers, we work in a high-stress job, and we're trained to work in a stressful environment. But to add to their stress, have them worrying about how they're going to get paid, pay their bills, feed their families, isn't fair. The air traffic controllers aren't getting paid also. So you have the officers checking your bags for weapons, right? And the air traffic controllers all worried about when they're going to get paid. I wouldn't want to fly in that situation.
It was Donald Trump's fault. That's the reason you're not getting paid. Some individuals are afraid to say that because of the politics and their current position, that's government or government adjacent. But that's the reason why. So now there's this element of, safety or lack thereof for those who travel. Groceries, Well, they already were too high. Now you don't even have enough money to buy the too costly or price too high grocery. Where does it stop? Put it full mass. Let's talk about the safety angle for this one. And the fact, once again, a whole lot of hardworking people come to work every day. It's a tough job. It's a steady job. They're not able to make ends meet, but they must work. The government is now going into day 8 of the government shutdown, and cracks into the foundation are beginning to show. Because of the staff shortages, there's a rise of flight delays. There's potential safety issues with flying, period. You have holiday travel coming up. Staffing shortages led to more flight delays at airports across the U.S. on Tuesday as the federal government shutdown stretched into a 7th day, while union leaders for air traffic controllers and airport security screeners warned the situation was likely to get worse. The Federal Aviation Administration, reported staffing issues at airports in Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Chicago, and Philadelphia, and at its air traffic control centers in Atlanta, Houston, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The agency temporarily slowed takeoffs of planes headed to the first 3 cities. Flight disruptions a day earlier also were tied to insufficient staffing during the shutdown, which began October 1st. So despite the staff snags, about 92% of the more than 23,600 flights departing from U.S. airports as of Tuesday afternoon took off on time. That's according to aviation analytics firm Cirium. Travel analyst Henry Hardevelt has voiced major travel concerns by saying, but the risk of wider impacts to the U.S. aviation system, quote, is growing by the day, end quote, as federal workers whose jobs are deemed critical continue working without pay. Travel industry analyst Henry Hardevelt said, the longer the shutdown drags on, the more likely it is to affect holiday travel plans in November. Quote, I'm gravely concerned that if the government remains shut down, then that could disrupt and possibly ruin millions of Americans' Thanksgiving holidays. Well, yeah, but it's also ruining a regular ass day at dinner time because people are still trying to eat before Thanksgiving. So while Thanksgiving becomes the marker, that's corporate again. Thanksgiving, Christmas, a lot of shopping, a lot of purchasing. Here's the thing. When it gets to that time frame where people cannot afford to go and shop for other people, that's when the real pressure from the oligarchs, from the CEOs, from the folks that fund Trump, that's when it really comes to Trump. He's banking that Democrats in Congress and people in general cannot hold on that long, because that's the time frame he typically has based on the folk who put him in office. All right? Okay. So the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, said Monday that there has already been an uptick in air traffic controllers calling out sick. They've decided to say, all right, we're going to take a sick day. When there aren't enough controllers, the FAA must reduce the number of takeoffs and landings to maintain safety, and which in turn causes flight delays and possible cancellations. Aviation unions and airlines have called for the shutdown to end as soon as possible. So here's what you have. You have a law. The law says, okay, when you don't have enough air traffic control people, you cannot have this many flights. Simple law. All you got to do is fund the budget. But here's what they will likely do if it continues to go this way. They would just change the law. They're just, we can just change the law, eliminate the restriction, and let you be unsafe. So this is the thinking of the common congressperson who happens to be sympathetic to Trump, because none of the calculation is based on them being sympathetic to you. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
Indisputable, exclusive. Exclusive, disputable, exclusive. All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda still. Octosquidies. Even more so if we saw similar strikes in other areas like ports, importing goods and trucking industries, among other, solidarity goes a long way. Yeah. And Gal for 71, does Congress staff get paid during this? I love to see them just refuse to show up. LOL. They have a little budget, but for the most part, the staff does not get paid. The member of Congress does get paid. They have a combination of an essential and non-essential workforce as well for the congressional office. All right, hell of a thing. So Trump is still contemplating pardoning Diddy of his 4-year sentence. I thought this was over. So let's go to it. Here it is.
Once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening. And I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. It's not a popularity contest. So I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Mr. President. Whether they like me or don't like me, it would have no impact. James Comey. All right. So Diddy is, months later, put it up full mass. So Trump said that before the sentencing and conviction. Now, months later, a potential presidential pardon is still in the mix for Sean Combs, a former Donald Trump pal. And it sounded like Trump so wanted to be friends with Diddy again. Well, we used to hang out, me, Diddy, and, the other guy. He didn't say that, but that's, Diddy was pals with Trump at one time, according to Trump, is now facing a 4-year prison stint after an exhaustive hearing on October 3rd. Combs was sentenced to 50 months in prison, $500,000 fine, the maximum 5 years of supervised release. Afterwards, Donald Trump once again Monday addressed the matter of a possible pardon of his one-time pal, Comey. Quote, a lot of people asked me for pardons, end quote. Trump said in the midst of a wide-ranging and free-wheeling October 6th press conference, quote, I call him Puff Daddy. He has asked me for a pardon. I'm sorry, y'all. Put up the picture again. Trump said, I call him Puff Daddy. What does that mean, Donald? I mean, he's gone by Diddy for a minute now, sir. As Deadline exclusively reported back in late July, Trump has been seriously considering a presidential reprieve for Combs, subsequently citing political criticism from his party pal, the former Apprentice host, walked back the idea of giving the half-innocent Combs his freedom. However, despite outcry from the likes of Megyn Kelly and 50 Cent, Trump has never abandoned the notion. I hear from multiple insiders. All right, so the conversation is ongoing. For what it's worth right now, a source close to events told Deadline today about a pardon coming for Combs. Quote, it's not dead. It's not happening yet. It's still under discussion. He added with obvious optimism, contacted by Deadline, reps for Combs had, quote, no comment on any presidential pardon. The White House did not respond to requests for comment on Trump issuing a pardon and the status of the matter. When you literally have no comment coming from both sides of this kind of administration and a camp like Combs, that means that they're in serious negotiation. That's what that means. If you're not in negotiation about a pardon, you're saying we would like an audience with the president of the United States or the committee that does the pardon recommendations, et cetera, et cetera. You say something. When you say no comment, when you don't proclaim your innocence, and then the pardon should happen, no comment at all, yeah, serious conversations are happening. I would concur. Now, who decided to also weigh in? Bring them on in. Suge damn Knight. Good to see you, Suge. So Suge Knight, of all people, weighed in on Diddy's sentence. I have never seen Suge work so much in his life. He's been on TV and social media for 5 years straight now, at least. On a phone call from prison, a correctional facility in San Diego, Suge Knight, who, by the way, is always on somebody's show while he has been in prison. Suge Knight told The Art of Dialogue, quote, overall, though, it's not surprising, he says. We do all know one thing. Like I said before, Puffy has strong ties with the government, with the feds, and anybody else would have been cooked. Suge is saying that Puff been snitching on people. That's what Suge is saying, okay? And that he has worked with the federal government in different scenarios. That is the allegation he's making in a roundabout way. Now, reaction from Cassie. All right, remember Cassie, former girlfriend, testified against Diddy. Lawyers for Cassie, Cassandra Ventura. Diddy's ex-girlfriend, whose sexual assault lawsuit arguably helped jumpstart the Diddy's legal downward spiral, spoke out in a statement sent to the Root saying, quote, while nothing can undo the trauma caused by Combs, and we saw that trauma, ladies and gentlemen, via video. We did. We saw some of it. Regardless of that, while nothing can undo the trauma caused by Combs, she says, the sentence imposed today recognizes the impact of the serious offenses he committed. We are confident that with the support of her family and friends, Ms. Ventura will continue healing, knowing that her bravery and fortitude have been an inspiration for so many. So Diddy lobbying for a cushy prison sentence. So at the same time, after Combs complained at length at his sentencing hearing last week about the conditions at the detention center, the Bad Boy Records founder now wants to be relocated to a much cushier, low-security facility in New Jersey. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the saga continues. We'll bring updates as they come. All right, well, a pastor, MAGA pastor, has basically called for executing rebellious black youth. Here it is.
The actual number of blacks who are committing murder is more than whites. Right.
And whites are significantly greater, 60% compared to 13%
percentage of the population. Yeah.
So if you take that, and then you took a law like Deuteronomy 21, which is a just law that God enacted through Moses. The law was that if you had a rebellious son, you have a child they're coming up into their manhood and they're rebellious, they don't listen. He lists some characteristics and even though they're disciplined, they will not turn. He says the fathers to bring them out into the town square. This is a rebellious son, and then they stone him to death. They kill him.
And an armed robber would certainly be one of those.
Oh, absolutely. Armed robber, all the ghetto
violent
culture.
crimes.
Basically, take ghetto culture, it would describe this to a T.
You guys are ridiculous. If you recall, and I'm utilizing the context of the Bible that you just referenced in order to justify murdering a child, let's utilize that same text. Remember the story of the prodigal son? And the prodigal son left lawless living, etc., came back. Well, that was the rebellious son. Christ was talking about the same Old Testament dynamics that you were discussing, except Christ said before, the kingdom of God is thus. You've been told it was this. He was actually contradicting the Old Testament in an ironic way. I'm contradicting you as well. When that son came back, he was not stoned. When that rebellious son came back, he was greeted outside of the city gates by the father and hugged immediately, likely so that nobody would stone him, and brought his son in to his home personally. That is what the Bible actually says, the parable of the prodigal son. You all have hijacked the meaning of it to an antiquated symbolic dynamic that somehow justifies your seemingly murderous thoughts against black children, and I won't stand for it. You will not hijack my faith. And you will not mislead individuals into believing that somehow that murderous content that you just shared or had will stand without challenge. And I welcome you bozos on the bullpen anytime. The invitation will remain for the rest of the year. Put on my full mask. Christian nationalist pastor Ryan Suave calls for the rebellious young black men to be executed by the state. He claims that it's in the Bible, okay? And I just explained where they were incorrect on the passage. That was Christian nationalist pastor Brian Suave and Eric Kahn. Not sure who the hell gave them a microphone to spout this horrific way of thinking. Also, for the record, according to the United States Sentencing Commission, 57%, almost 60% of sexual assault abusers were white. 74.6% of offenders in cases involving production of child inappropriateness by way of video were white. 53.3% of offenders in cases involving travel for prohibited sexual contact were white. And according to the Innocence Project, nearly 60% of the people that the Innocence Project has helped to free and exonerate since 1992 have been black, despite the fact that black people account for only 13.6% of the U.S. population. Once again, gentlemen, I invite you all to come to the bullpen anytime in order to express your sentiment or rebuttal. During a recent episode, the King's Hall podcast, Pastor Brian here argued that the United States government should enforce what he called just laws from the Bible. including those found in Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 1. The passage instructs parents to bring a disobedient son before the town elders to be stoned to death for being, well, you see, guys, for eating too much and being drunk. If we held that standard, you all would have been dead 2 years ago, 3, maybe 20. Who wouldn't? All of us would. Yeah, for being drunk, sir, and for being gluttonous was the prerequisite for the stoning. Now, you would like to bring that back, or are you talking about some other version that you've decided to create and then utilize said scripture to back your play? That is old and antiquated. You know, those who thought they could own Africans had a similar approach to the Bible as well. Do you think the holy wars were holy? You see, the scripture has been used many times in many contexts from many cultures, from the Quran to the Bible to others, to justify the bias of non-beneficial human beings to the progression of culture. But at the same time, there are good faith individuals who take a different approach. I hope to be one of them, and I challenge the madness that they spew. Pressed by the co-host and fellow Christian nationalist preacher Eric Kahn on what kinds of behavior will qualify, the pastor linked the verse to modern crime, saying armed robbery, all the ghetto culture. Basically, take ghetto culture, it would describe it this to a T, end quote. So old pastor here and his co-pastor for today, Pastor Kahn, we'll call him Kahn, Suave and Kahn are their names. So Suave and Kahn both preach at Refuge Church in Utah, promote a brand of Christian nationalism that seeks to align civil government with biblical authority. Well, let's get to it, gentlemen. Let's get to it. Thou shalt not commit fornication. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Are you voting and supporting a guy who has admitted to committing adultery, who has committed fornication before? Thou shalt not lie, sir. Thou shalt not take the Lord God name in vain. Thou shalt not burn incense. It's an abomination to the Lord. I'm going through all of them. We can go beyond the 10 commandments. You want to bring that back? Number one, it was never here, sir. So wherever you want to bring it back to, it's a whole lot of brown folk that you may not want to live with because it was never here and Christ did not come from, or Yahshua did not come from a white European-centric culture. What you bringing it back to? You never lived under that kind of rule. Neither have we. Neither will we. By invoking the passage, to justify executing rebellious black children, Suave is promoting a theocratic vision where civil authorities enforce biblical codes as criminal statutes, a hallmark of the more militant strain of Christian nationalism that frames law enforcement and social control as divine mandates, and they never have been, they never will be. There are some preachers and some Christians who would say, I'm not a Christian because I don't believe that the Bible is the word of God. Now, I believe it was inspired by people who were inspired by the goodness inside of them, by the God in them. When Yahshua was asked where was the kingdom located, Christ said, it cannot come with observation. No man can say, look, it's over here, lo, it's over there, for the kingdom of God is inside of the heart of humanity. So I believe that. I believe the kingdom of God is inside of the heart of humanity, just as Christ said. And that means I believe the kingdom can exist inside of you and does exist inside of you. God gave me a brain before he gave me a book. He did that for every single one of us. There are passages I will not get down with. Masters, obey your slave. I don't care who wrote it. I won't get down with that. I hope you don't either. Christian nationalism has been on steady incline over the past decade. Data from Pew Research Center showed in 2022, 45% of Americans say they should be a Christian, we should be a Christian nation. It was never founded as a Christian nation. Many of the men who founded this nation were not Christian. They were called deists. They believed in a form of spiritualism and not Christianity in the de facto sense. More than 4 in 10 U.S. adults say the country should be a Christian nation, but far fewer want churches to endorse candidates or speak out on politics. There you have your statistics. Another Christian nationalist church known as Christ Church also stepped into the spotlight. So the big homie, Jane, grilled Pastor Doug Wilson in the interview last week. It's worth watching, all right? So make sure you check it out. It was a hell of a thing. Doug didn't have a chance there. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Let me read a couple of comments. Yep. Mel Batos, not paying crucial employees like TSA is absolutely ridiculous. Stop paying senators and Congress, folks, first. Yeah. Green New Dealer Dragon, if another 9/11 happens, now they would still try to blame the Dems. Crazy ass Republicans. And V. Brown talking about that picture with Diddy. Trump calls him Puff Daddy. Okay. A picture is worth 1,000 words. That's right. And Love 18 White Girl. Trump was going to the freak off in his diaper. You said I didn't say that. All right. Well, the big homie who has been on Indisputable, we will have him back, our dear friend and brother, Representative Justin Pearson, to run against a Democrat for the U.S. Congress. It's about damn time. Here it is. Look at that. This is some good news. Ladies and gentlemen, I will explain why. Justin is unbossed, and unapologetically governed by the people he represents. I did an interview with him not too long ago. Please check it out when you get an opportunity. We posted it on our YouTube page. He was known, is known, as part of the Tennessee 3. Remember we covered that in 2023. Today, he launched a primary challenge against Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen. Oh, look at Steve, man. Steve is not a bad guy. He's just not great. And Steve, I'll say that to your face, Steve. You're good for what you're good for, sir. But this is an opportunity. It's a movement, a moment. You guys are outclassed and outfoxed here by some of the most ridiculous human beings we've ever seen in modern day politics in America. So the headline for Rolling Stone today said, quote, Justin J. Pearson of the Tennessee 3 has had it with mediocrity. So he's running for Congress. Put the picture back up. Steve, I didn't call you mediocre, Steve. I didn't go that far. I said, you're not great. You're good for what you're good for, sir. All right. I was trying to put a positive spin on it. Our dear brother just called it on now. All right. All right. For those who don't know, a reminder, April 2023, he and fellow Democratic representatives, Justin Jones and Gloria Johnson, were thrust into the national spotlight when Republicans made the horrible mistake of attempting to expel them, the so-called Tennessee 3, from the legislature. Not from that day, but from the legislature. The push to remove Pearson, Jones, and Johnson from their seats was retaliation for the trio's leadership of anti-gun violence protests at the state capitol in the wake of a deadly mass shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville. They decided to stand up for what was right. Republicans claimed that the 3 lawmakers had violated chamber rules, a transgression which typically provokes little more than a formal reprimand. Johnson managed to barely survive the vote to expel her from the chamber. Pearson and Jones did not, but were reinstated to their seats shortly after via votes from their respective city council members. Pearson making a bid for an office in D.C. isn't about having outgrown his local seat, but about helping his community be represented. So he stated, quote, I am still a resident of District 9, as much as I am the representative of it. I'm going to be a community congressman who stays engaged in local politics, local decisions, and local efforts that are quite literally changing and impacting the trajectory of people's lives and their health. I show up to city council, county commission, school board, Memphis Light, Gas and Water, board meetings because I am a representative, but also a constituent. And I have a responsibility to serve this constituency in every way possible, not just from inside a building. A lot of people in Congress are pretending as though they're not constituents of places that they're supposedly representing. And that is harmful to the body politic. Now, I will say this before I say the next quote. There are literally some members of Congress who are not constituents of the district because Congress does not require that you live in the congressional district in order to run for that congressional office. And you do have a handful of individuals who fit that current scenario. Cohen, another quote, Cohen sent out a letter saying he held 2 town halls this year. I've held a dozen. What makes you think we should be celebrating mediocrity? We should be expecting more from the people who are leading us and leading this country. We have to expect more. Pearson has been endorsed by Justice Democrats and leaders we deserve. David Hogg stated, quote, Justin J. Pearson has repeatedly shown the kind of backbone needed to confront powerful special interests, from big oil to the gun lobby. Memphis deserves a next generation leader like Justin, a testifier who will deliver opportunity, affordability, safety, and justice to his constituents. And I will go on record and officially endorse the dear brother as well. Looking forward to his continued leadership in more capacity building arenas. And we'll have him back on Indisputable. All right. Always good to be with you. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.